following. We get to the parking lot, and then they only let the first car in and turn the other car.
Oh yeah, we're rolling. Hit it! So fucking typical, I don't know what to do. I'm on the scotch and I'm feeling kind of woo. Think you're scary, but I don't know what to do. Got nudge your boo, coo coo choo. Hey! So fucking typical, I don't know what to do. I'm on the scotch and I'm feeling kind of woo. Think you're scary, but I don't know what to do. Got nudge your boo, coo coo choo. Hey!
Welcome back to the lot. We are joined here today by Kevin LeGall from Space Bacon Bass, correct? It's funny.
Yeah.
We're starting a tradition on this channel of having exceptional bass players on. We've had O'Teal, we've had Karina Reichman, we interviewed Dez not too long ago, and right along with that, we have another great bass player. Thank you for joining us. I'm super
Well,
happy
thank
to have
you.
you on.
Thanks for having me.
It's gonna be a kind of a good
Alex
thing.
from Tabor's Choice too.
Oh
Alex,
yes. How can I
don't
forget
about
Alex?
him. And wasn't the guy from Sturgill Simpson the bass
Right,
player
the guy
too?
from
Yes.
Sturgill
Yes.
Simpson. And next week we have the
The
guy
list
from
is-
Eggy.
The list is long.
We are the
wait,
bass
we love
centric
bass
channel.
players.
We are
Our
bass
guest
centric.
from Eggy next week is the bass player.
Yes.
Nice.
I swear it's not on purpose. It's just a coincidence.
That's what we do.
It seems like
Amazing.
bands want to throw their bass player to the wolves. They're like, go on the Wook Plus channel for us.
You go talk to those guys.
I have a theory about bass players, and I don't know if we'll probably be all over on topics tonight, but in true Wook Plus fashion. But I feel like bass players are really in tune with the jam, a little more so than any other player, right? Because they're tied in with the drummer and the rhythm section and the groove, right? Establishing it, but they're also the tonal base of the chord structure, and figuring out your figured bass and stuff. So they're really in tune with the melodic side of it and the harmonics. So I don't know. Do you feel like you're the key instrument when you guys are jamming?
I think it depends. I mean, I've always viewed the bass as like, an unconscious entity. Like you're not really paying attention to it, but it's always like in the background. It's kind of like a foundation. Like I always have like the comparison of like sports teams with jam bands. Like, the goalie is the drummer, the keys and the guitar are up front, and everyone's like paying attention to those two. Like no one's paying attention to the bass player, that's the defender. And, in terms of like, so
Until
you
they
never really
fuck
notice-
up, and then they're like, "Oh shit, what?"
yeah, until you mess up. But yeah, I mean, I always feel like I'm an operator, like just listening to everyone and trying to like figure out like what works. So like, I'll start with like a basic root note. Me and Sam, we're pretty locked in all the time, and then I'll kind of like wait for like Chris or Jack to do something cool, like, and I'm like, okay, I guess we're going major, minor, and then we kind of just go back and forth from there. And so I always feel like I'm always the one in the middle, just trying to make everything work and make sure like, we start off nice and patient, and then we end off with like a nice big progression, turn around, and always making eye contact. And
How often do you try to push and take the lead on it versus following and trying to like I'm thinking specifically like tempo and feel wise. Does that go to the drummer first as priority, and you're trying to lock in with him?
Yeah, so if we're doing like a song, like Parachute or something, it's a certain tempo. We always kind of have these conversations where we make the set list, like how the jam's gonna go. So like Parachute will be like a little bit funky. It can kind of go into like an unsee dancey beat. So Sam will set the tempo for that, and then either Chris or Jack are trying to like figure out what they're doing, and I'll just play the root note. And I think it kind of just goes from there. It's hard to like be someone to coordinate every jam. Like if I were to, take the lead every time, I think it would get kind of stale. Sometimes you kind of get stuck. And, I kind of have that mentality when I play. It's like, okay, that jam was cool. and then the next jam I'll kind of forget exactly what I did before, just to kind of keep it fresh. But it's nice to, like, you know, when Chris or Jack come up with something really cool, you know, we'll kind of like bounce with that. You know, whether it's like a root to a fifth or root to a fourth, and then we'll kind of make it like a 4-chord progression with like a 2-note turnaround.
How fast can you pick that up? Because I hear, like, I'm gonna probably reference Phish a lot. I think it's no secret that's
Can
like,
we bring Andy in real quick?
yeah. Sorry, I just
It's all
instantly
good.
got. All right, I don't think Andy even needs an introduction. Everybody knows and loves Andy.
How we
but-
doing, my man?
Oh, hi
No.
everybody.
Welcome.
Andy,
Thank
this is
you.
Kevin. down
Space
in-
bacon. I love
Space
space
bacon.
bacon. Nice
Oh,
to see
thank
you.
you. You too, man. I like the artwork.
Oh, thank you. We gotta.
It's a
Most
lifetime.
impressive collection.
Yeah, I need more artwork. I got nothing on the walls. I just moved in here, so I just got like a cork board full of random stuff.
This was part of our pandemic project of hanging the art and bringing the music to where we were. Well, we couldn't go to see it.
There you go.
I've got an open spot here for the next show.
the next one.
That's
It's always open.
Nice.
How we doing? Are we on the
good.
lot?
Yeah,
Yeah, hanging out.
we're talking about bass playing, and I guess rolling with it. You started off as a guitar player, right,
Me?
Kevin?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kevin.
Yeah, I think it was like what's that? I had like my final communion or something in you know, Christian school.
Yeah.
And I took that money and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do rock and roll now. And I bought like an Ibanez and kind of started from there. And then I always wanted to play the bass because like in you know, I started off with trombone. I knew like bass clef, and I eventually got one for my buddy for $20, and you know, played jazz bass and never really was in a band where I played bass until Space Bacon. So when we first started the band, it was really cool for me to just play an instrument I loved and kind of let other people take the lead in the spotlight. You know, pretty low key. So
Very nice, very nice. Well, I mean, what my next question would be: I read that you said you're a big fan of 311, Tim Mahoney. How much does that influence? What does that bring to your Space Bacon?
that's a throwback. How do you even know that?
I read it in an interview. I told you I do my homework.
These guys do
Yeah.
research, man.
Yeah.
They know it. What's going
Oh,
on?
it's funny. Like on my Facebook history thing, it's all 311 quotes. My yearbook was a 311 quote. One of my buddies was a big fan, and his brother, we play a game where it's like play any 311 song, and he could just play it on the fly. He's that good. But I always thought it was cool because 311 had like I was like big into reggae, punk, and metal. It was cool how they like put it all together with like rap. And when I was a kid, I had like a desktop computer, and I printed out Tim Mahoney's like pedal rig, and it's massive. He has like a party board with like cool stuff like a boomerang or wah pedals, whammies, and the other one's like all effects. And I always like, you know, wanted a rig like that, but as I got older, I realized that.
So, do you have one now like that?
No. We've been flying a lot, so I bought like a heavy duty bass case. So I kind of just put all my pedals in, so it's less to worry about. You know, it doesn't get banged up on the flight. But I do have like a big case that I have like 2 octave pedals, 3 filters, you know, a delay, stuff like that. But I try to keep it simple. You know, I feel like with the bass, you know, I don't need too much effects. Just need I focus more on the groove. But the octave pedal does help out a lot, especially for our music where we get a little dancey. Like you pick that octave pedal with like an envelope. Like I see all the time, like people start moving. So it's important at points.
And is
You're
that
like, it's my
using that
moment to
more so
shine.
to drop it or the other way?
Well, it's like if you like have like an unseen dance beat. I'll just ride the root and like stuff like
The
that.
first like hour of Space Bacon I ever was exposed to was that like kind of music, and I for a minute there I was like, oh, is every jam like this? And then I found all these funk. There seems to be like a big like Disco Biscuits dance techno type influence in a lot of the music I had heard. Do you feel like that's a fair assessment? I was just curious what kind of influence.
Brothers Past a little bit, I get.
Yeah, I mean, so when we started Space Bacon, I didn't really know too much about jam music. I think my first show ever was STS9. That was like 2011. I didn't really get it. And then the first one like I really understood was like Kung Fu and Dopapod. I was like, oh, this is like really cool. And like Dopa Pod was getting big at the time. But my keyboardist, he's a big Disco Biscuits head. I think he hit 100 shows recently. And Chris,
drummer too, right?
Yeah, that's how Chris met Sam at a New Year's run. And then we were trying out drummers. He hit up Sam. I think he was like the third person he tried out, and it was like, wow, this guy's really good. I was like, he showed up like, who is this guy? And we jammed at my parents' house. Like, oh, this is sick. Like, we have a band now. So definitely a lot of influence. And Jax, he's a big. I mean, back in the day, he was into Phish, Dopa Pod, Disco Biscuits. I think he's more into like house music now because he's been producing more. He has like a track that got on Above and Beyond's like playlist, so he's been focusing on that.
And you told us beforehand you've never seen Phish. Have you listened to them?
Yeah, so I had something. I was gonna go this week because being on a Phish podcast.
AC.
No,
or
in the Lake Jones Beach. Yeah, so like being on a Phish podcast, I started like listening to it more. But it's kind of funny. So like some of my friends from back home are huge Phish fans, and we've been trying to go for ages. You know, stuff happens. But so every time we jam, we're actually going to jam tomorrow for my birthday. I always do like a birthday jam session.
Oh,
they always
birthday.
bring. Thank you. I'm turning 30 Monday, so I always wanted to be on a podcast before I turned 30. So thank you.
Yeah.
Just got in there. Nice.
Yeah. But
And then by the time you're 40, you'll be hosting a podcast because that seems to be how it goes.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, so my friends Mike and Eric, they love Phish, and so every time we jam, we'll jam to Phish. So I think I've jammed to more Phish songs than listened to actual Phish songs, which is kind of funny. But recently, I've been like listening to a lot more. I'll put on like, you know, when I'm working, I'll put on like a live show. That's typically what I do with JamBase. I'll put on like a YouTube concert and just like watch it and like listen to it. But yeah, I had an offer to get free tickets Tuesday, but something happened with my family, and it's kind of focusing on that. So
yeah, I mean that comes up. I just found out that I'm probably not going to AC this weekend, and I've seen a bunch of shows this year, so I really have no excuse to be upset about it. But there's always like a little bit of disappointment when like you think you're going to be able to make it and things can't happen. Actually, I was planning on talking about a bit more about tour, and then I realized in the green room that may leave you out a little bit. But while we have this resource, because I love talking to Andy about Phish, it's probably one of my favorite things to do. I'm gonna get your take, Andy, on how this tour's been going so far and where we're at in this year 2 of 4.0.
Let us peek into the crystal ball and decide how we want to. Screen went blank. Are we still here?
You're good.
Oh, I'm back. Yeah, it went black. I had to shut down and come back.
Oh, you're good? All right, welcome back.
Hey, thanks.
So I went to Philly. I did 2 shows at the Man. I had never been to the Man before.
Beautiful place.
Were you in the pavilion or the lawn?
I was in the pavilion, but I took a walk up to the lawn. And
the lawn sucks, man. I don't know.
I had a great time on the lawn.
Really, it was
no,
good.
but the view is so obstructed.
I mean, I know what they look like at a certain point, and I mixed it up.
You get a peek of what Trey's wearing, and you're good.
Yeah, I wanted to give people space, and I also get some fresh air. It was very humid and hot the first night, so we took a little bit of a walk. But I did something I've never done before, is I didn't look at any of the set lists going in. I went in blind. And it was actually really challenging. I had to like avoid it. And I was even on I'm on like a text thread with a bunch of buddies who like pick the shows every night. And pick 6, and then they give each other points that don't mean anything. It's like
bragging rights,
whose line is it anyway? It's like the points don't matter, but you get banter. And so I kind of knew by the law of just not know, or just like just what was removed every day, what they weren't guessing was probably what was played, or I just had to like ignore the text for a little bit because I wanted to go in not knowing. I wanted to feel like I didn't know what they might play or have a sense of.
So that's why you didn't come on a recap show.
I didn't.
You weren't watching.
I wasn't there. I had no idea what happened. I didn't watch any of the shows leading up to Philly, which there were. I missed Maine and Mansfield. So it wasn't a lot, but I was like, all right, let me have sort of a clean.
Oh, and
entry
Banger
into this.
though, that Bangor show was really good.
It
You
was
should
a
go back
banger.
and
Yeah,
listen to it.
Banger.
I want to go back and listen, but you know, it gave me an opportunity just to appreciate and enjoy it, and I feel like they're playing at such a high level right now in terms of like how they're listening to each other, and they feel super tight and like they've been playing together for a really long time. And the shows lately just have had this fluidity to them where they can kind of go anywhere, but there's been a bit of a smoothness to it and an arc and a storyline, just in terms of the vibe of all the shows, that has really resonated, where every show has had something great. And, you know, they throw in a couple of left fields to keep us on their toes, and it just sort of lends itself to overall gratitude and appreciation for the fact that these folks are playing together still after so many years.
Almost seems like they're playing without ego. It's like it's an egoless entity that's the four of them is together. Sometimes they make moves that the whole band makes at once. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And at the same time, you know, that may not necessarily lend itself to the level of intense scrutiny or geekery that some have come to know and appreciate and sort of build a lot of time around. There's not necessarily this like mystery to unravel, that they're going to drop some sort of like next generational clue as to where, you know, the
Illuminati.
the rhombus has been opened and outed, and so we can just sort of bask in the glow and appreciate without having to, like, you know, feel like there's. But then again, tonight, you never know.
Right, it could always come back to that, right?
Look, the storm's gone.
It's
Oh,
weird because like I
really?
totally agree with what you're saying, and I felt that too.
Well, let's
But
just
then
stop there then. That's good. That's all. Yeah, keep going.
And no, but then I think about that
But-
Man Night One that
And
you're
Bud,
talking
right?
about, and they did have like a whole theme and like did the space thing and like had a little antics to it. I mean, not
Sure,
like full blown like Gamehenge or like lore. It doesn't have the same like weight as some of the other bigger things, but they still are fish. Like they still fish it up. You know what I mean? Like there's still like that fishy essence
they're
of
very fishy.
playing with the set list and playing with expectations and shit.
Well, you can see they're picking songs. They're not repeating the same show every night because they've never
30
done that.
for 30 different openers in a row.
Right, every opener is different. That's a good little clue. I mean, they're definitely putting thought and intention into it, and to enable to kind of put forward what feels like a very well balanced buffet for people to enjoy and appreciate, whether they're going to all the shows or just one of the shows. You're gonna get something great, and I think I appreciate that. I didn't feel like I had to go chase them around necessarily, even though East Coast has got it spoiled.
They
You
definitely
guys,
gave it to the East Coast this
so
year.
like every show within
Wait.
an hour and a half of each other.
So, Kevin, I'm curious from the musician standpoint, if the band, I know it's like transitioning from Phish to Space Bacon, and
But that's what we're here to do today.
not direct parallels, but any jam band, the fans talk about the set list a lot and the song, the show construction. Do you guys obsess and geek out about it from your perspective as much as the fans do, or is it a little more nonchalant or organic?
And who writes them? Who writes
Do you
them?
even write them?
I think. Well, we perform best when other people write our set list. So there's a very, I think our best show, my favorite show, is a Phish After Party, December 29th, 2019, and our manager wrote it, and there's two different themes. One was a weapon set because we have a song called Flamethrower, Jackknife. Another one was like a space set because we have a song called Jupiter and Ice Planet. So we didn't really think about doing that in the past, and we're glad that he did. And it turned out to be one of the best sets we performed. Like our buddy, our publicist, Zach, he's written a bunch of set lists. And I think it's better when we have fans or people write the shows because it's challenge. You know, we don't have to worry about like key changes. Like we'll just do it. You know, like if something's like
So you don't correct them if they don't consider like key changes or tempos or anything. You just figure out a way to do it.
Because we talked to Matt Bush from Dead and Company. He writes their set list, and he said sometimes he'll put songs together, and the band will say, "Wait, we can't do that because they're in two different keys."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been time like when we write a set list, it kind of takes a longer time to get it done. Like because Sam has to take into consider tempos. We want everything to be fluid. We don't want anything to like drastically change. We like everything to be patient and fit together. Key changes are important too if you're going to go to like a tritone or like a diminished. I mean, that's kind of like when we for example, like a tritone or diminished, that's like really dark. It's like really like metal. And I don't think we would write that into a set list back in the day, but a fan probably did that. And they're like, okay, we're gonna do metal jam, and now like that's kind of incorporated into our set now, where we do like these like really dark, like really like heavy, like palm muting on guitar kind of things, and get really dark and trancy. So we do both. We do it ourselves, but I think every time the band like reaches like a new step and evolves, it's because someone else writes the set list.
So next time you come to Baltimore, call me.
You want to write their set list, Kev?
Of course I do. That's a dream job.
I love that idea of having fans write the set list.
The I think that they thought it would be a good idea to let the fans decide their future, and
they worked out for them.
Yeah, it's easier for us. We don't have to like discuss it or go back and forth and write draft after draft. It kind of just is there. I'm like, all right, this is the challenge for today.
I have a friend who brought her daughter to the show at Merriweather, first show, and they wrote a letter to the band with like all of their song requests, and a few of them got played. Like they sent in fan mail, and they sprinkled it through, but there was definitely like
was one of them If I Could.
It was.
So I want to thank them because that was my first one on 125 shows.
I'm pretty sure that was on the list because I think that was the. I'll have to go back and check the video. Let's just say it was. Yeah,
that's hot. Thank them for me anyway.
It's better TV if it was.
Yes. It's good TV. Yes, it was a good reason. And the band wants to give the fans a great time and a great show, and like at a certain point, like keeping ideas rolling and keeping people engaged. Audience participation has been what it's all about. I mean, you hold up. There was a whole tour where they were playing songs people held up on signs, and then that faded away a little bit.
Saw it again.
I'm surprised there's not any more "Can I Sing Bug with You" songs.
Yeah.
I was really expecting that.
The chess game's the ultimate audience participation thing they did.
That was great. I was there. Fall '95.
Yeah.
I thought you looked familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the middle-aged white dude with the beard and the concert shirt.
Is that a Harry Potter shirt you're wearing?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
I'm going to the thing about audience participation. Let me ask you, Kevin, you're all instrumental. Do you find it harder not having a place to woo in a lyric or something like that to draw the audience in?
We're not fully instrumental. We have like a lot of vocal tracks too. We don't have that recorded. Our EP and our LP, they're strictly instrumental. But when we were first starting out, we had like a song called Avalanche, and there'd be like a woo. We had like a lot of songs where we didn't really know how to write lyrics. They're kind of just like quirky or whatever, and they were a lot of crowd participation. So that's kind of like how we started out with woos, yeahs,
Yeah, through a sample, right? Like song.
Yeah, it was like in college because we didn't know. We like our first show. I think we had someone else come up and sing. Our buddy Sammy Chang. He just sang like "What Is Love" and I think "Get Lucky" because we didn't know how to sing. And I think when we started making songs, it was just throw in some vocals and it evolved over time.
I think that's around what Phish did.
I have a decent around the horn question because I like to do that now. I hated it for years, and they finally convinced me it was a good
twisted your arm.
It was a good thing for these types of panel discussions to get everybody involved. And I haven't heard from T yet either, so we could even start with him. I'm curious. I'm going to throw a audible to you, Kevin, but I'm curious what your favorite cover to get jammed out is. Any cover that you've seen jammed out, and then Kevin, I'm curious what your favorite cover is to play / jam out.
Like seeing a band cover a song?
Well, that's what I'm asking them because none of these guys actually know how to jam out a song Well, maybe Andy
Yeah.
does. I actually don't know if Andy's in a, incognito jam band, but
I'm in a solo campfire
He's in a fake jam band.
with a loop pedal. I'm in a fake jam band. That's true. I actually. Sorry, the question was not directed at me. Please.
Go ahead, T. You got it? You got one?
T. Did I?
Oh.
I don't know if I even said that correctly, but you know what I'm getting at.
What's your favorite cover that gets jammed out?
The
By
one that
Phish?
By any band.
By any band.
Yeah, because Kevin probably don't have a Phish answer for us.
I don't, unfortunately.
And or what song that you haven't heard jammed out, but you would like to see covered and jammed out. You could go either way. I just want to have this open discussion about jamming out covers.
About a cover.
I mean, my favorite one that we play in Space Bacon is "Cars" by Gary Newman.
That must be cool. I haven't heard that. That sounds awesome though.
Yeah, we did that in Burlington, and it created like a really cool soundscape. But going back, we were talking in the green room about the Talking Heads and listening to the live album, and they covered Tom Tom Club. And I thought, I don't think I've ever seen a band do that live besides the Talking Heads, but hopefully I could see someone else do it because it's just kind of groovy and funky. And I feel like if you get like a guest vocalist or rapper on it, you can do like a bunch of like rap covers, like not Beyonce. I think Beyonce, So I feel like you could do like a lot of cool stuff, like newer, older, and then you just jam it out because it's got that really nice funk pocket.
I got to see the Tom Tom Club at the Jammies one year.
Oh, nice.
I forget who played with them though. It's like totally blanking.
Mm-hmm.
The Jammies, they paired people. They had Soul Live and George Porter Jr. kind of thing, and they had one of the Ramones came out with Lake Trout and did Blitzkrieg Bob.
Oh, Mark Ramone? I've met him before. Yeah. I used to work at a news agency, and I see like Mark Ramone like get coffee or like Slash walk into the elevator, Weird Al. So Marky's a quiet dude.
That's great. So you got an answer now, T?
No.
No.
No, that was good Cars. That's good. I don't know. It's hard. There's so many songs I like, cover songs. Like I like anytime any band plays a cover song because I like hearing other bands play other tunes, especially bands that you'll never hear play those songs, So like I don't know. I'm always a fan of like whatever. Anything Stones related. I love hearing bands cover the Stones, especially when Phish covers the Stones. I love as long as it's good to like, it has to be a good cover. Not that anybody like tries to do a bad cover, but
some people murder songs.
There's some bad covers out there.
Yeah,
though.
there are some bad covers. Nobody tries to do it, but it happens. But anything, as long as it's good and played well and played, so I mean, like recently Karina Reichman's been doing that. Daft Punk's playing at my house with Psycho Killer going into, and she fucking kills it,
Yeah.
And like those are so fun to hear played a different way too. And so I think anytime any band goes into the cover area, it's either an homage or trying to like pay tribute or something they always liked. It's always interesting to hear why they play covers, but I'm a fan of like any cover, a band playing any cover of another band, not necessarily cover bands, but a good band playing a cover of another good band song. I'm always a big fan of, and it's hard to just nail down one because I like,
I think
hearing
think my favorite jam, like a cover jam I've ever heard, was P Groove doing the Mario. Like it's like a game, like video game, like and like da. Right? Like they did this whole Nintendo jam, which was really cool because there were themes, but it wasn't like a full like verse, chorus, bridge. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't the structure, like it just had themes that they intertwined. And I haven't, and then maybe if any of you guys are familiar with somebody doing this, let me know. But I was thinking a version of that would be like TV show themes jammed out, like game shows and stuff. Like I would love to see a band just come out and like hit Price is Right theme or something and throw in like
Disco Biscuits once did Law and Order with the son of one of the guys from Law and Order introducing them.
Oh, that's cool. But yeah, exactly. Like, different sitcoms, different dramas, some game shows.
They had Sam Waterston on stage.
It was Sam Waterston. It wasn't.
In New York. I actually was at that show.
Like, I want to hear somebody cover like the Fall Guy, the old Fall Guy theme song that what's his name wrote and sang in it.
The A-Team
A-Team, like,
cover.
Dude,
Fall
you're
Guy.
dating yourself,
that was
man. You're
back
dating
when, like,
yourself.
I mean, if you watch the Fall Guy intro, it's like 5 minutes long. Like they let the song go. It's like literally like a 3-minute intro into a show, and you're like, oh, they just killed 5 of the 50 minutes of the show. Fantastic.
Let's go to an ad.
Exactly.
So
That thing's
Ghost
great.
Llama messaged us Morning Dew, which may be the correct answer for a band jamming out of cover.
Is that actually the answer?
I would go with the Radiators doing a song called Parchment Farm that was written by Mose Allison, which is like a 3-minute song that he wrote that's just a funny blues song about killing your wife. And the Radiators play it for 15 minutes and take it to a whole nother level.
That's a drink, by the way.
That is a drink for everybody. It's been a
Cheers.
long
It's
time.
also fun when you take like a short song like that, or like the Cheers theme or whatever, and then turn it into a 20-minute jam vehicle. That's fantastic. That's so fun.
I
I'm
wanted
definitely
to,
tuning into the next Space Baker show to see if any of this.
Seeps through.
Yeah.
So what you got, Andy?
I got a lot report. The rain is still coming down.
Damn.
I got my brothers at the show tonight.
It's going to be a long one-set show,
They have a
probably 9
delayed
to 11.
entrance too,
Delayed
right?
entry. Everyone be safe in their vehicles if you're listening to the lot on your car.
What else would you be doing sitting in your car at Pine Knob but watching
on the lot, watching
That's
the
right.
lot.
Shout out to Andy Michaels, who already gave us a
Right.
report from the lot that it was raining out there.
Like and
Be safe.
subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
All right, redundant lot report. It's still raining.
All right, so what do you got for a cover?
That should be Andy's. Fuck, I wish we set that up. Andy just hangs out and we go to him and he's
Breaking
like, lot
news.
report. It gonna rain.
It's still raining.
Still raining.
Still raining.
Still raining. That's my cover.
Dude,
It's Cross-Eyed and Painless. When they jam that out,
well,
it can go anywhere, and then it comes back and still waiting. And I think they love
I saw
it.
Lotus do that. That was incredible. That show Gathering the Vibes in 2013 where they had the Lotus talking headset.
mhm.
Oh yeah.
And they had some actor. I met him after the show. He was like an actor from Chicago or something. They just brought him on. He was singing. I was like, oh my god, this is incredible. It was cool seeing like Lotus and Talking Heads back to back.
Nice.
I also like when Goose covers The Way It Is. Do I have to drink, by the way, because I just said Goose?
Yeah.
Oh, sure, we can make that your keyword.
What was the
Mhm.
rules? They had a lot of their covers that just
They do Cross-Eyed, or they did.
they do
back in
Moving Out by
2019.
Billy Joel, and they take it type 3. I mean, this
That's cool.
But some of their covers kill me, like the Kenny Loggins. I'm good on that.
I don't know.
Danger Zone?
They do whatever.
I should tell them
Some of those movie tunes.
yeah,
that
I was gonna
Kenny-
say you could do a whole set of Kenny Loggins movie theme songs. It'd be fantastic.
I think that's
no,
how
it
it
would
started.
not be
That's what Goose used to
fantastic.
do.
Footloose, Caddyshack, Top Gun. Come on, dude. That's a long list. It'd be
I'm all right.
fantastic.
I am all right.
Oh,
Oh man.
See, there we go. Andy's throwing it down to you. Big Thunder and Lightning.
All right, so let me ask you about your album because I want to pronounce this guy's name, Anthony Thogmartin
You gotta
from
show off that research you did.
Papadiccio mastered your album. Do you want to tell us that story because you told us before and I found it fascinating?
Yeah, so when we first recorded the album, we wanted to go to the studio. So we went to a place called Sabella Studio. I met the producer at a Mac Conductor show, I think. And he had this Neve console that they used to record Billy Joel, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, like a bunch of like 80s really popular albums. So we went there and we recorded, and it was good. It's just we didn't like being under the clock. So we kind of just went to my keyboardist's house in Vermont. We brought our sound guy, Fred, who's at every show. He records all the boards. He mixes and masters the boards. So he was working at like this like audio rental place, and we turned this whole ski lodge into like a recording space, and we recorded, I think, majority of the album there. And then once it was mixed, I think it took a long time. I reached out to Anthony, and he was pretty cool, and he mastered the whole thing. And, happy we got him to do it. It's nice to like keep it in the scene rather than.
I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Did the band stay involved through the mixing aspect portion of it?
Yes. So Chris and Jack when I met them in college, they were like
Chris is Chris is your drummer and Jack is
No,
your
it's-
guitar player.
Chris
For
is
everyone
my-
who doesn't know.
Chris is my keyboardist, Jack's
Oh.
the guitarist. We
Right.
first three like started like jamming in college, and then we brought in Sam. But they have a lot of experience like mixing. Like they put out a lot of stuff on SoundCloud back in the day, and they still like put out solo like electronic dance projects. So they between Fred, Jack, and Chris, we had all three mixing them together, redoing takes and everything. So it was a collaborative effort.
Very nice.
That's cool.
Phish is always I've been questionable in the studio. I really like what you guys did, and Phish's last album they tended to nail it. And what I'm finding between what both of you guys I've read about Phish and what you're saying is it was you guys in a room together playing, and then each track recorded separately, and you can play with them afterwards.
Yeah, that's what we did. I mean, the bass tracks I didn't touch anything really. Maybe I think for the interludes, I redid some of them. But the drums and the bass are pretty much fleshed out there, and then we layer guitar and keys on top of that, and some extra bells and whistles, sound effects, whatever.
That's always been like this dream of mine, because every time I've seen like documentary footage or talked to like musicians like going to the studio, it just seems like the pinnacle of like collaborative, creative,
You watch Get Back and you're like, I
achievement.
want that. I want my John Lennon for my
I
Paul
want to hang out
McCartney.
in a barn or a ski lodge and like hang out and play music and make those decisions and have that product at the end that you can be like, look, it might not be perfect, but this is what we've come up with. Or shit, maybe it is perfect. Who knows? But I
Nothing's
just
more
love that
perfect.
idea of coming together to create something.
How
like that in
confident
that
were
moment.
you when you released it? Were you like nervous about it? Were you confident?
I think like all bands when they put an album, they just kind of want to put it out. We listen to it so many times, and I think there's a certain point where you can keep on doing it forever and ever. You just kind of have to just trust your gut and say this is good.
And then you're Boston all of a sudden.
And then what?
You're Boston. It takes you 4 years to do a follow-up to your first album.
Yeah, or what was it like Guns N' Roses, Chinese Democracy?
Yeah,
for like
forever.
10 years and $10 million, and just redid everything.
And it wasn't that good.
Yeah, I bought that CD. I used to be a big Guns N' Roses fan. I bought it and I was like, just never again.
I'm so old. I bought Appetite for Destruction when it came out. It was my senior year in high school.
I
So
love that album.
Andy, you got a weather update for us?
smooth.
That's where we're at now, huh? Still raining, I guess. I don't know. I haven't heard anything back. Somebody posted a picture of Trey looking out the window from his album.
So are they going to, Andy, will they do a rain-themed set if they end up playing one set?
Yes.
Well, they'll play Water in the Sky, probably, right? That's
Petrichor.
Drown.
Yeah.
Purple rain.
Insult the injury. Let's do
Turtle-
the petrichor.
Turtle in the clouds. And then Harpua. Look, the storm's gone. It writes itself.
Right, it's that easy. See,
This is why Phish needs to be like Space Bacon and have their fans write the set list. Andy's set list was brilliant. Oh, besides Petrichor, but we can look past that.
Come on.
They should do petrichor in the middle of Harpua. That's a smack in the ass.
People have to like it then.
Harpetrichor. Ua.
Petrichua.
Petrichor. Oh man.
They can do what they want to. I mean, it's that's the beauty of it. And when they take risks and it works, everybody wins. And when they take risks and it maybe doesn't work, we still win, and people still come back. Like there is just this.
That's
incredible...
the beautiful thing about it is you have a fan base who's willing to let you fall on your face, but they'll show up the next night.
That's why we go. I want to go to see the flubs, right? We don't want to hear Stash played perfectly every time, do we?
No,
but I'd like to hear it play perfectly some of the times.
more times than not.
Why do you go to a car race? To see the
to see the wrecks, right? Exactly.
it's all to see your friends.
Yeah,
And that's really a big part of what I experienced. Is the music is awesome and the shows are great, and we can analyze them till the cows come home. But in a lot of ways, I don't say this pejoratively, like they're all the same show in some regards. Like you're gonna roll the dice, you're gonna get what you get. But what you do also get is reconnecting with people in real life, and seeing your friends and having a great time together around music that you love that makes you feel good. And nothing is like that in the world. Nothing's like that online. It's so a blessing that we have these experiences that we can go to and see other people and have these conversations that we otherwise wouldn't have. And there's this collective
and these people
connection.
in your life that you would not otherwise have. Everybody I
Most
hung
of
out
them.
with
Most
on
of
the
them.
lawn at Merriweather, I met on Twitter over the pandemic.
And you have a shared experience, and then come out of that with motivation and enthusiasm and ideas for the future. You know, like I go to a show and I have fun in the moment, and I'm totally just in it, and I have an idea, and I go home and I pursue that, and it's like it gives you the juice, it gives you the push to do it. It's why we do it. I also find going and doing it because you don't know what's going to happen, and that's a big part of it. And if you knew what was going to happen every time, then it would be boring. And if they played the same show every night, then it would be called a different. It would be a different band name that we won't say on the air.
What, Spin Doctors?
If they played the same show, same set list every night.
I'm sorry, that's a running joke. So how do you feel, Kevin, about building community? Are you conscious of that with your?
See that, T?
Well, I didn't really understand the whole jam band community until after college. Our first show was 2013, and Chris and Sam were part of, like, they were going to a lot of jam band shows, Disco Biscuits, Grateful Dead stuff. Garcia's was like a big headquarters for us. So when we had fans come to our first show that didn't go to college, like, who the hell are you? And today they're like some of our best friends, and they help us out along the way. But I've been to a lot of shows, like not jam band related, and you kind of go there and then you leave. But when you go to a jam band show, there's something different about it, where there's a sense of community. You see people you haven't seen in a while. And I really love that. That's kind of what I try to do in life, is to get everyone together, whether it's like in high school or college or coworkers. It's hard. You get older, it's hard to get everyone together, even like family and stuff. And I think if you have the same passion and if you like the same music, it's a great way to just reconnect, and it's a family. It's a beautiful thing. So
it almost starts to sound cliche because we all say it so often, like the whole community aspect of the jam band community and like the shows. But when both of you, like Kevin and Andy, when you guys were describing it, is like instantly you're like, yes, that's what I'm doing. Like for me, right? Like I was like, that's why I like going to these shows. Like, yes, I like seeing the band, but I like, it doesn't have to just be one band. There's many bands. It's when you have that instant built-in icebreaker and people that have a shared passion and are unapologetic about it and can just be unreasonably happy for no other reason than a bunch of middle-aged men are playing music that blows their minds. Like there's this whole experience that is really great to be a part of and makes it kind of addicting and difficult to describe to people that haven't seen it, right? Like I feel like that is the reason why you have to see the shows in order to get why some of us do it the way we do it.
It's fun to talk about, right? Too, like as you were just talking, didn't it make you feel good?
I love it. I honestly, this stupid ass channel and show that we do is such a rush because of the community and to have these conversations, right? Like I don't think, like, I'm really into other nerdy shit that have things like that, right? Like Marvel and Star Wars and like I used to be into sports and shit, but like I don't think I get the same rush that I do with this community and this music because of all the unexpected, ever changing. And you know what the other part is, Andy? Not to just like go off on a million tangents, but it's how personal the experience is with a jam or a song or a part of a song, because you can hear the best, most eloquent speakers talk about a specific jam and they're still just describing their experience with that jam. There's no way to communicate the music aside from playing the music. So I think it's kind of cool to hear. It's almost like a glimpse into the minds of the people when they're discussing the music, right? Because they can't reproduce it for you, but you can see how that music affected them.
They can
Right.
reproduce it for themselves, though, which is really an amazing thing that humans can do. Is that we can store experiences as memories in our body, and
Which is
then
nuts.
recall them when we want. So whenever I feel like I need a little kick, I can go back to the Great Went. Thank you, Great Went, and I can replay the bathtub gin and jumping up and down during the peak. And I'm having the chill, like I'm re-experiencing the endorphins that I had in that moment.
The greatest gin ever.
I mean, so Kevin, I think you're not going to find another place where you'll get asked woo-related questions like you were earlier. That's part of this community, but also just going to the experience. I would encourage you. I've never really recommended Phish to anyone before. I by the time I got into them, there were enough people that loved them that just needed information organized to tell them what they had done.
Greatest website ever.
Thank you. I try to keep it, at least factually accurate, but my HTML skills have not evolved much since the 90s.
If you need help, that's my profession.
So. Oh, you go to gadeal.com/Phish, and if you want to take a but if you add graphics, people will revolt. That was the whole idea.
I love your website.
The whole idea was to race to the computer lab in college in the 90s to check the set list. So I was a nerd.
Oh wow!
In college,
old school,
and I was producer Llama.
Hanging
when
out.
Did you launch
lab.
This? Andy?
So this was a school project. I went to college at Michigan State in East Lansing, Michigan, not far from Pine Knob in Clarkston, Michigan, where the Phish is playing tonight. And when you study computer science in the 90s, they teach you how to build a computer and all the binary and all the physical circuits, which I didn't find to be particularly practical in terms of what I was looking to do. But it also gave you access to a computer lab, and a computer lab in the time was an always-on computer that was much more powerful than the computer you might have had in your dorm room that you used to plug into the phone and dial in to the internet to check your email or to look up message boards and things. So I was in the computer lab a lot and learned how to turn on the computers and how to manage, checking your email. And, suddenly people started coming in to the computer lab who weren't nerds. They were people that had social skill and had friends and were popular people, but they were I don't know how to turn on the computer. And I knew how to had to help them. So the computer lab aide was a good role to sort of understand. At music, when all of a sudden you went on to this information superhighway and looked up, what are you going to do? You get access to all the world's information at your fingertips, all the knowledge inherent in the universe. Here you are.
I'm going to share pictures of cats.
You're going to look up Phish set lists. They go hand in hand. My pet cat. So people would do that. And
I feel like it's music, cats, and porn are the three pillars of the internet.
It is a good trifecta, and so the Phish page actually started as a computer, a class project to make a web page, which is just saving a file on a file server that's accessible to the web, and then it just kind of kept it going, and people would come and discover it, and then send me information when they knew something.
We worshipped at the altar. This webpage. After every show, we were there the next afternoon refreshing until the set list.
It does need a Jump Radio link, and probably a link to this show as well.
I was gonna say that, but Andy stole my thunder. But yes,
I haven't.
You should have some Wook Plus content in there.
It's so fantastic.
You should add some CSS to it.
Well, yeah, I mean that was kind of the joke. Was that it was lightweight and it was easy.
I mean, that redefines lightweight, though, in the best way possible. I'm just saying that's a slight understatement. Did it become harder in a weird way as technology advanced and things got more complicated to maintain such an authentic, simple site. Like I don't know any. Obviously, don't know anything about website programming or writing or coding or anything. But like I feel like because I had like a what is it called GeoCities page around that time, and it was just like some basic HTML script, and I threw it in, and it was easy.
Hard Rock Kid.
But now I have no idea how the hell I would even create something like this because you go onto like Wix or whatever, like all the template stuff.
It's so
and like,
easy.
Yeah, I found that those kind of WYSIWYG editors, what you see is what you get, were actually making it harder for me to do what I wanted to do and keep it lightweight and simple. And so I sort of shied away from those types of things.
Well, the beauty is the set
Rolled
list is
my
at the
own.
top. That's what you want, and then you're
Well-
like, "Oh, that was a great set list. When can I see them again?" So
Well,
the
shout
next
out
thing
to
is
to the Phish.net folks. I got to give them props because they have I don't have to wait for people to text me or call me with the set lists anymore because they just update them as the show goes on. I mean, Phish is also doing it via Twitter, but they don't have an API. So the Phish.net, I just tap into that. So that
I just realized the comments hate Andy, so I can't share comments when we're like this.
Can you go ahead and refresh the page there, Wookmaster? There you go.
Nice.
Hey, Wook Plus and Jeff Radio.
Look at that.
We do it live.
looks
on
like
Wook
we
Plus.
made it.
Live.
This is excellent content on international
If I
TV
was
right
running
now.
this
Greatest
through,
night ever.
if I had to go through some sort of content management system, it would have taken much longer to do it. So I just
Much
have
longer.
a little file.
Simple is better.
Well,
Just use FileZilla.
and then actually wasn't even mobile friendly. I use CyberDuck and Sublime Text. Those are my
That's my favorite.
my
Sublime Text.
simplest. Yeah, and I as the school project evolved and people would send me information all the time, I just kept updating it to stay in the loop. And Setlist became, and I really went hard for like 3 years until like 98, and then the web started to evolve a little bit more, and I was thinking about other types of projects, and I was also starting to get into other bands. I kind of, in the late 90s, like 98, I started seeing other bands and kind of less fanatical about seeing every Phish show, which expanded my tastes and got me into other stuff. And what I started to do was list other bands' websites on the Phish page. It's like, if you like Phish, you might like these folks. And people would send me lists of bands that they knew about, like String Cheese and the Ominous Sea Pods and the Disco Biscuits and all these Juggling Suns and all these
Solar Circus.
Yeah, let's go. 90s jam band trivia. Hit it.
Gib Droll.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like some God Street Wine
trivia
from the
Moon Boot Lover.
Brothers Pest was in there as well. Liquid Sun, Tragically Hip, Strange Folk, the
Max Creek was
Motherfunkers,
still kicking around.
God Street Wine, Agent Porridge, Agent of Good Roots, The Dude of Life, Acoustic
Railroad Earth.
Zero, Widespread
Zero.
Panic.
Came
Railroad Earth came later. Like it was, so all these bands were bubbling in the late 90s, and I started listing all of their official websites on my Phish page. And the section grew to become so big that I had to make it its own sub-site of the Phish page. And then eventually it became a whole different website. And in the late 90s, in 98, I was working on a music festival in the Midwest that was booking a bunch of these bands. And the promoter of the music festival wanted to promote the fest, but also kind of talk about the bands. And he wanted to write about the bands and have like a little magazine to promote the festival. And I'd never done anything like that before. And he asked me to help with it. So I started making phone calls to people about this idea and like have the poster for the festival be the center of the magazine. It was a great idea. And I got connected with the Terrapin Tapes people. They were like, "Oh, we want to sponsor that." And then it also connected me with Dean Budnick, who was writing a book about these bands called JamBase. And he said, "Yeah, we want to promote this book that I'm publishing. And also, about web pages. Could you help me make a web page for this book to promote the book?" And I said, "Sure, I'll I'll help you with that. We registered JamBands.com. And I, at the time, had this kick of like, well, a web page can be more than just a promotion for a different medium, like a book. It could be a medium into itself, like a thing that you read at some regularity. And so we got together and I said, what if JamBands.com was a write-up of these bands, a magazine about the bands that we're talking about? And he loved the idea, and we worked together and published JamBands.com in September 1998. That was an editorial magazine about jam bands, and every month refreshed the page once a month. It got updated, and people read it.
That's the pace I could live with. That
was really we worked great, and we did that together for about a year. And in parallel to that, this still like list of official band websites was nagging at me, where I was looking at it and I said, well, if I ever want to know when any of these bands is coming to my town, I have to click on each individual official website and find their tour dates and see when they're playing. And I said, well, that's really an inefficient way to find information. Let's make that simpler. And through the work I was doing, or the studies I was doing around computer science and computer databases and understanding that, I started JamBase, and I started putting this information into a database. And it was originally gadiel.com/tour dates, and then it was part of jambands.com, and then it split off into its own thing and became jambase.com. And so that was sort of a direct line from the Phish site into...
By the way, you passed the test. I wasn't going to do it live, but I wanted to see
Space Bacon.
And they're on there. And
there's some
updated.
upcoming
of course
tour
Space
dates.
Bacon is on JamBase.
And it's awesome.
There's
I
some
love
upcoming
JamBase.
tour dates
It's
there. What are
such
they?
a useful tool. Elements Festival. That's actually not too
I
far
can't
from
read
me.
that, man. You got to zoom in on that
Zoom
shit. I'm
in.
old, man. Hook a brother up.
Control
Come
plus
on.
that
So
shit.
There you go.
This is
Warm
for all
up
the
in
boomers in the
PA.
audience.
Thank you.
That
Thank
used to
you.
see dead in
there's a
the
mobile
early
app
70s.
too.
Oh,
Okay,
nice.
the mobile app.
And now, so are you still the guy running this, or have you handed it off to someone else?
I am no longer the person running it. I'm still involved as an advisor and a board member. But there is a team, David Onigman and Scotty B and the whole team of folks who
love Scotty B. He's the best.
they keep it running, and they keep it fresh, and they're doing a great job pushing it ahead into the future. I left about 10 years ago and took a side world career role in video and working in television data and working on television databases. And now I'm helping out with live streaming and exploring the metaverse. I've got a whole bunch of other...
Ooh, the
to
metaverse
talk,
is
Andy.
a scary place.
the Wookverse.
Yes, but I don't want to go hang out with... it's weird looking at myself hanging out with somebody else on a screen in a room.
Kev, you're literally doing that right now.
This is very weird. You're right.
No, but
I slip.
But he means a pixelated version of himself.
as a pixelated version of myself moving. I feel like I'm a video game. I'm in a video game all of a sudden.
Well,
Kev,
that's kind of
describe
part
our
of it.
show and say how much you hate it.
I had some people come over Friday night to watch the stream this past Friday night that we're all going to Merriweather, and Ben said, "I'm inside your computer." She was like in the room here.
Nice.
I thought it was funny.
Good
All right.
story.
Yeah, good story.
Great
A
story.
plus, Kev. So tell me about Element Fest, Kevin.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Elements Fest. We've been going there. I think last year we didn't go, the year before, but they've given us a lot of opportunity to kind of grow there. They gave us like late night stages, playing 2 shows on the weekend during the weekend. And a lot of my friends like are big house nuts, so they go every year. They go like all the Elements Fest and they fly over. So it'll be cool to see a bunch of my hometown homies there. But this year it's changing because before it was at like a camp, like a Sleep Kids summer camp. So it was cool. Like everyone had their own like camp themes, like Camp Pickleback, and they all do their own thing and their own gimmicks. So I've never been to camp as a kid, so it reminded me of like kind of like that.
Your image of it.
So it's always been fun going there, but this year it's different. It's at different grounds because there was a whole fiasco last year with it was like raining every weekend, every festival was getting canceled, but they stayed through, and it was just mud everywhere. Cars were getting stuck. So, it's gonna be interesting to see how it is this year. And they have a lot more jam bands. I think like Twiddle and Les Special is gonna be there.
Big Gigantic's gonna be there.
Stafford.
Twiddle does not get enough love. I would just say that.
I like Twiddle. I do. I don't have anything else to say. I just
You're just saying
like
that's a good statement.
I'm gonna try to make it to this. This is only about an hour from me, an hour and a half maybe, and the lineup looks dope.
Yeah, they kind of rebranded because earlier in the years they were doing like a little bit of jam bands, like smaller ones like Space Bacon and stuff from Brooklyn, and they've kind of grown. And then I think last year, the year before, they just stopped that, and this year they're bringing it back, and it's phenomenal.
The jam band people who are the ones who want to show up and camp in the mud for 3 days. We're the guys. We're your people.
Well, it's car camping too. So.
You know them? Schlump.
I
don't know. I have no idea who they are, but just the name.
That's
I'm not familiar, but it's a great name.
Schlump. It's fun to say.
My kind of people.
A+ playing. Good. Naming a band is really hard.
Speaking of, where did you guys come up with Space Bacon? Because that's a dope name, and I really like this trend of breakfast.
He doesn't want to tell the story.
No, give the abridged version, like one sentence, like Chris.
You can say you're not allowed to say.
So
you're always allowed.
Give a short version, but in college I played a lot of bands, like different ones, because I wanted to different genres I wasn't exposed to, like pop punk or like dad rock or. So I filled in for bass, and my friends, my roommates, like Beatles, indie rock, folk kind of thing. And Chris and Jack, we started jamming at the time, and they came up wasted to Rodriguez, the coffee club where we played. They're like, "Yo, man, should I say it? Oh, you're like a combination of Kevin Spacey and Kevin Bacon. We'll call you Space Bacon." And I'm like, it didn't. And it was like, oh, that's cool. If we start a band, we should use that. And months later, when Chris moved into my apartment in the Bronx and we started like taking it seriously, I think our first show we still didn't have a name, and I was like, it should be Space Bacon.
Space Bacon.
And we were driving down from my parents' house where we practiced because it was 30 minutes up from the Bronx, and it was like Squirtle or Space Bacon. I think those were the two. And we're like,
you chose properly, I would
say.
Yes,
you chose the right name.
I don't know why you would want to. I mean, I guess I could figure out, but that's a cool. I love it. Story.
Yeah, totally.
Every great band I've been in has been named after someone in the band. Like my punk band in high school is called the Mags, and it's after Michael Albert Rocha, my friend, but we called it Mad Ass Ghetto.
I thought you were talking about Magatrometers and. Oh, wrong show. Sorry.
Yeah, and then we had a band called Short Bus. My friend, his name was Chris Busone. His brother was Big Bus, and he was Short Bus. And kind of. So like, I feel like every band I'm in has to be named after like someone in the group, like a spinoff. So it's cool that I finally got one.
Well, that's like Phish.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Phish.
Yeah, their name.
I was reading up on them. Apparently, that's not like the story behind it, but Wikipedia is not right.
I heard the alternate story and I don't buy it. The alternate story is it's the nitrous sound, right? Like it was like
no, that's a BS story. What's the real story? Come on,
the real story is
I thought it was about Fishman.
I thought so too.
That is what everybody thought for like
call him Phish.
30 years until somebody went on the free site and changed
on the Wikipedia.
On Wikipedia.
And their IP address was tracked to the Philadelphia area. Sorry. Did I say that out loud? Sorry, I just went to those shows. So
that was the loudest I've ever heard Kanks walking out of a show. Like right at the exit, they were there.
They were everywhere.
Don't believe everything you read, or don't believe everything you think as well. Thank you.
Especially at a Phish show.
They were not in Merriweather because it's a fucking felony in Howard County, Maryland, to sell that shit.
Dude, there were so many fucking cops at the Merriweather show. Holy shit. I'm not, because Bethel, there was no cops. No, I mean, Bethel, there's no cops. Man, there were a few, but they were like really chill. They just kind of like took one tank and sat there all proud, but like
we did our work for the day.
Those they call them police officers, peace officers.
Peace, right?
Peace officer.
Keeping
But
the-
in Meriwether,
the
in Howard County, Maryland, there's no crime. There's nothing to do. It's the second richest county in the country. They're like, let's make some extra money. Let's get $100 fines, $100 fines.
Can we talk about the first night of The Man when they played Tweezer into
Oh my God.
cities, into
Yes.
Tweezer, into passing through into Isabella, into Tweezer? I'm
Beautiful.
consulting my my
Beautiful.
notes from the show.
Nice.
Okay,
Nice.
But then
I
what
te-
was fascinating about this was that this book that I had at the show, the previous had this show.
Oh, the Tweezer Isabella.
Tweezer Isabella. So I had that much between, but actually this isn't an accurate representation of the shows between because this book I took it up through Big Cypress, and then there's like halfway through the Big Cypress set I just stopped
Because you
and
didn't want to go. You didn't want to go there with quadraphonic.
and then 17 years later I picked it back up again. So it's kind of a fascinating little journal.
You haven't lost it yet? I mean, any weird stories where you lose it and it comes back? Because I feel like I'd lose that thing immediately.
Oh man, I have the first one too. I mean, these are like, this is it's in the archives or whatever.
It's a prized possession, right?
It's meaningful. It's a little doodle book, and it's fun. It's fun. It helps me remember what happened. And it
but the Tweezer Fest was dope though. It was really cool.
Isabella cities.
Because his daughter.
Why you say it like that, Kev? It wasn't amazing.
I'm saying it.
I can't believe they played cities. That fucking band.
That was not it. That was oh my God, it was so butter when they stopped.
Oh, okay. I misread your tone as being disappointed.
That transition from the Tweezer into the cities was one of the best things they've done in 10 years. I mean, it was so fucking
that was great.
smooth.
I haven't listened back to it since, but I remember at the time it was really, really good.
I haven't listened either. That was my in the moment.
I was thinking about I remember I used to write down the set list at the shows because there was no Twitter. And we used to not know. I mean, kids these days, you just don't know how good you've got it. They used to not tell us the names of the songs, even the new songs that they were playing.
I called Thorazine Shuffle Suffer for years on bootlegs. We called it Suffer.
Is it is it
Shafty? Is it Oblivious?
Right, exactly. Like we're thinking about calling this one Black Eyed Katie, but they don't tell you the names of the songs. And so there's this. That was the mystery. I think the internet has ruined the mystery.
Not just the names of the songs, but like the lyrics in the songs.
The last time played, and
I posted this thing out that I got in the lot one.
The Helping Friendly lyric book. Look at
that. It was a lot score. Look at this. I mean, it's all like they're all written out on
right. Or you get the
and half of it's probably a little wrong.
Yeah, exactly. They're definitely not right. They're definitely not right. I can tell you that. But yeah,
that's dedication.
A lot in the 90s.
Dedication to the cause.
Totally.
There's a great. Yeah,
I used to, I found it a lot easier doing. I could remember dead set lists because there were only 4 or 5 openers, and it was a Bobby or a Jerry tune. It was a lot easier to walk out and remember basically the show. A Phish show, I could never remember past the second song. Hours later, you're like,
even in the show, I couldn't do it.
Right. Well, yeah, but that's why you finally got smart enough to try to remember to take a pen in, and then you could at least write the set
never
the back of the ticket stub.
I was never that
figured that out, and I have so many ticket stubs that have just scribbles, just letters even that you're just trying to remember. Like, oh, I got to remember that. And then even after the show, especially 90s Phish, you go back and look at it, you're like, what the fuck was that song?
Now you got to be on your phone on your notepad.
Or on Twitter, you can just find Scott Marks and be like, wait, what was this song? Oh yeah, that's what it was. It's so much easier now.
So much easier.
Andy all right, so I don't want to write on my tickets. Right. What are you going to, Kev?
I was going to go to, since it's getting near to where
the show's close. You want to get off?
Fine. No, it's still raining.
I was going to ask you what you have coming up beyond the festival. Are you going to be in the studio again? You writing new tunes? Where are you?
Yeah, so we did a good amount of touring this year. We're not full-time musicians. We all have jobs. I'm in software. Another person's in IT recruitment or is a senior manager at some website. You know, so it's kind of tough to like balance musician life, work life, family, girlfriend, you know. So we're just gonna enjoy the summer. It's great to kind of have some time off because I could just finally work on music. And like the past couple of days, I've just been very inspired to just sit with my guitar and just, you know, write lyrics or music or, you know. But we're gonna the rest of the year we're working on some dates right now. We're not gonna do too much, and I think we're gonna focus on 2023 because that's the 10-year anniversary of Space Bacon. So I think we're gonna save a lot of energy for that. You know, we kind of have I have a lot of ideas of what to do, and you know, so I think I'm more excited for that because I've never been in a band for 10 years, and I think it's fun. You know,
So is your songwriting process that you each individual member brings stuff in? Do you do jam sessions and say, hey, this works?
I mean, the one song I've written, not lyrics, is a song called Wolves. We don't really play it because it's like a down tempo kind of song.
Going to be on my set list.
Jack has written like Hollow Man. He wrote the lyrics and the music for that. He wrote Jackknife, Rosandra's. There was a time where he was trying to put out like a concept album, so he was like really into it. He had like all these great ideas. Chris writes a lot of stuff. Like I was with him a couple of days ago. Like he's always every day after work writing tunes, and we're sending ideas back and forth in our Facebook group or via text. But some of the cooler stuff, like I think like Ice Planet or you know, just kind of just comes naturally. Someone's late to practice, and then we'll just jam. Like I'll get on drums if Sam's not there, or you know, I'll get on guitar, or you know, and we kind of start something. Then someone comes in, and it's like, yo, we gotta do this. We gotta do this, and we'll just kind of just write something from there. So I think
I'm a fanboy of Heatseeker. Can you tell me that story?
Chris wrote that. And
I like that one.
He brought it to the table, and I think usually what happens is when someone brings a song to the table, it's not fully done. It'll be like a A-B kind of thing, and then we're like, okay, we need like a breakdown or an intro, and then someone like adds some other things, and you know. So that was like a Chris song, and I think that was like collaborated a little bit in the studio. That's when it gets a little heavier. I think that was us just adding to it.
Very nice.
Kev, can I ask a question?
Oh, you can ask 10.
I don't have 10 questions. I don't prepare like you. Apparently, I just come in and wing. No, I'm sorry.
It's a look.
Too many inside jokes. No, all right. We're being random here, right? And we're kind of going on random.
We are way random.
One question that I've gotten mixed answers, but I want to know this. My last question. Do you have a target length in mind when you go into a jam? Because sometimes with the bands I listen to, or even like with you guys and your jams, things get taken out for a walk, and sometimes things are short. And I don't know how much of that is it just doesn't land, and how much of that's by design. So I'm wondering, when you go into a jam, do you know we're gonna stretch this one out? This one has legs. We're gonna be extra patient with it. This song of the set, we're going to try to make our long
20 minutes or something, or 15
or is it
minutes.
completely organic, and what happens?
I mean, we've done like a one song set before, opening up for Spafford at Brooklyn Bowl. We have like a really long song that has different jam parts. So I think for that one, there's like 2 or 3
one song set's pretty badass. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, it was a 45-hour long set, so you know, nothing like an hour and a half. I think we've gotten better because it depends on how much time you're allocated. For example, like Sonic Boom, we had an hour and 45, so we were doing jams like, if you know Jackknife, like there's not supposed to be jams like in the composition, but we started adding like really nice, you know, songs with very quick peaks in there. You know, so it's very organic. A lot of stuff's unplanned, but I think over time we've kind of gotten better. And the rule of thumb I think we've kind of come with recently is like we should save the heavier, longer experimental jams for later, because if you do that too early, the other stuff can get rushed. If you're like jamming for like 30 minutes and like you're not even like 20% done with the set,
right?
You know, most of the times you have to cut some stuff out if that happens. So we you know, we're not too picky on that, but I think as we get older, we kind of like the later in the set, we want that to be more experimental. It just makes life easier.
In the beginning, it was whatever happens, and as you get older, there's probably actually a plan somewhere in there, huh?
Yeah, well, there's a video of us from one of our first shows, and there was we had a song called Juice, and it had it was a song and it was a jam, and like the jam would just kind of go and go, and then it would stop, and then someone would be like, no, I want to keep on doing this, and just keep on going, and I'd be like, okay, I'll tease like Feel Good Inc. by the Gorillas, and it's like watching that where it has like no direction, like no really peaks, no turnarounds, and watching where it's come now, like we've just progressed, and I think like over the years we kind of like code name, certain things like a Damnation jams, like a metal one, and we'll have like blissful major jams.
All the metal jams.
Wait, what?
I want all the metal jams.
Oh, we love them. I think it's pretty unique. We always try to be unique with our sound. I think we try to do that like once a set or something.
That's my favorite Humphreys when they do the Iron Maiden dual lead guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they do that really well.
They do. I love Iron Maiden. We used to.
All right, well, I think we're going to wrap this soon. Andy, Kevin, it was great having you guys on. Does anybody want to plug or share or any quick anecdotes? Andy, how's the weather? Do you have any updates?
I got a lot report. It's wet.
It's wet. Wet lot. Wet and muddy.
Lot with Jimmy. Yeah, they got it.
It's going to rain.
Get inside. There's a storm a coming. Tomorrow night there's no Phish live stream, but my San Francisco brothers Tea Leaf Green are doing a live stream of their show a premiere.
Great guys.
From Colorado, to plug that. They're doing that. Check their socials and all that. They're going to replay that, and then they're playing the East Coast. They're playing Connecticut, Philly, New York, and the 8x10. Then they're doing the Brooklyn Bowls, and they're doing the Park City Music Hall. So if you're in
world's greatest rock and roll club, the 8x10.
So yeah, if you're anywhere in the nearby area, check them out. They just played at High Sierra Music Festival, and we're flipping fantastic.
Is it all the original guys?
Yeah, the bass player is Eric DiBaradino, who runs the Park City Music Hall.
He's a great guy.
Great, awesome dude, amazing bass player. Their original bass player, Ben Milky Chambers, moved to Hawaii. He didn't want to be in a rock band the rest of his life, and then his home, unfortunately, was cut off access by a volcano. How many people can say that? Ooh. The lava flow. So he then moved to Singapore and then kind of made his way. Last I heard from him years ago.
Hawaii, I'm going to Singapore.
My dream is to have him come back someday and play Planet of Green Love. But then Reed Mathis, who you guys know, was bass player for many years. But then now Eric and Reed, by the way, has if you haven't heard Reed Mathis play guitar, I would recommend seeking that out. There's a great video on his YouTube that I helped produce of him and Trevor Garrett from Tea Leaf playing the song America by Paul Simon with Reed on guitar, and he's just a spectacular guitar player. So that was a lot right there that I just kind of said.
Great. That's what we want. We want.
No, that's great. I'm going to come back and
for this.
Revisit this.
I've got a the thing about music.
With the band? Are you buddies with the band?
I'm buddies with the band. I help them out.
Somebody come on. You think you can get somebody on the show?
Yeah, you want to get
maybe a bass player.
You want to get Eric? You should get Eric to come on. He plays Phish songs in his under the covers.
In the fall, we're going to come back in like October, November.
Yeah.
We only have bass players and drummers.
Good.
Apparently.
Well, we'll get Eric to come on. He's a great dude. And that's the thing about music. For me, my experience with music is that I have this reaction where I just want to share it. Yeah. I hear music I like, and I just want to like give it to other people because then I still have it too.
Yeah, the more people have it, the better it is.
Right. You're not giving it away. You're giving it.
And that's why we had Kevin come on, because I felt like you were criminally underrated.
I'm hearing like the walk-off music right now. Like that's it.
I know. I keep second guessing it.
That was good. That was good. You got to do it. You got to just.
Next, gotta force it.
This is a dream come true. Hanging out.
And Kevin, afterwards, we got Andy.
Tonight we got Benji.
Oh, Benji, right? Andy Michaels is Friday. Shoot me. Love you guys.
Have fun there.
Kevin, you don't even know what we're gonna do.
Thanks, guys.
Kevin was lit tonight. He was just like, I gotta